Master podcast. I'm joined here by National Master John MacArthur. I am Rogan Joe Sloan, and today we're talking about all the chess news and, I don't know, views of the week and just in general. So, John, over to you.
Good evening, Rogan. Good afternoon. Good morning. As it turns out, we're in two different time zones across the world. It's morning for you, and I'll be turning in about 4 or 5 hours, maybe 7. Who knows? But how are things on your end, buddy?
Oh, I'm going good. Amazing. Absolutely. I'm gaining rating, and I'm kidding. I'm gaining some rating, but I'm doing a lot more puzzles and stuff like that. I'm 21 days strong into my New Year's resolution.
That's great.
At least I think I am.
You're not doing any of those. You're not going to do any of those streams where I'm going to stream until I turn 2,500 and I'm not quitting until it happens.
No, that's a little unrealistic. I can't even stream for 2 hours without getting tired. No, it's I don't know how people do it. I just get bored and everything gets annoying, and then I just leave. It's a cycle of things. Yeah.
I do find those streams very amusing when somebody says they're just going to will themselves to 2,350 or 2,300 in the space of one stream.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, yeah, you can do it in puzzles, perhaps. You can do it in puzzles, perhaps, with a lot of willpower and determination and not moving and whatnot. But you can't do it without an actual amount of study and hard work and elbow grease away from the stream.
Yeah, like, why didn't I just will myself? The power of friendship can beat Magnus, can't it? I mean, oh well. Okay, so the first item of chess news for the day, John, I believe, is Viscountcy, or otherwise known as Tata Steel, I believe.
Yes, Tata Steel, the major sponsors of the Viscountcy tournament, which has been running for decades. A tournament that almost everyone would like to visit in the seaside resort in the Netherlands, formerly known as, in fact, it would be WAZ in the old days in the chess-based game files, but now it's known as Tata Steel. And it's always attracted the best of players. This is one of the first times in quite some time that Magnus Carlsen has not participated. Last year, it was won by Anish Giri, and he is among the leaders.
So in Viscountcy, the strong Americans aren't there right now, are they? The Caruana and Hikaru?
No, they are not. We don't have an American representative in the top group, in the elite group.
Right.
We don't have Caruana. I'm sorry?
Ding is there, correct?
Ding Liren is heating up the middle of the field like a world champion should.
Yeah, the dominant world champion we all crave, yes?
He is holding down that 50% score like no one ever could.
Yeah.
I believe that as I used to tell my students, his efforts in recent events are paying off.
Yeah, he's given them a false sense of security and possibly a real one, you know.
But we do have Hans Niemann in the challengers group who made the news recently, as he was defeated by the Dutch sensation Eline Roberts. Ironically, in the 5th round, Eline Roberts, I believe, was 0-4, and then she comes out of nowhere and
uses some anal beads.
I guess she was. Yeah, she was just, lulling everybody into this false sense of security with losing to every player in a row until Hans Niemann rolls along. And maybe it was his bad pickup lines that irked her. I don't know.
or maybe, John, Kramnik is like 2 minutes away from accusing her of using the Hans Niemann gambit.
Yeah,
I'm sure. I'm sure he thought it. He was like, this is not correct,
Well, fortunately, she did beat another 2,600 plus tournament player from Turkey, Mustafa Yilmaz, shortly after she took care of Hans Niemann.
Right. So do you think she's quite underrated, or is this just an outsized performance or some bad play maybe from the favorites?
Well, her performance, thanks to those two players in 7 rounds, is putting her, at least 100 points ahead of her rating and performance. She wasn't expected to win many games as a 2,300, not quite 2,400 rated player in a field with 25 and 2,600, and as you noted, a couple of 2,700 rated players in the challengers. That's quite something. Saleh from the Arab Emirates is leading the field with 5 points, a half a point ahead of Korobov, Erwin Lamy, and Marc-André Maury of France. I would have guessed Italy there, but maybe he's relocated. But those
Maybe.
three players have 4.5 points. And Marc-André Maurizzi of France is actually got a performance of almost 2,700, even though he's only 2,500. I hope that the expert statistician or professional statistician Kramnik is looking at these games
Oh
very
yeah, of
closely.
course. I mean, they seem like a perfect data set to use every time. I mean, you know, like I feel like there could be no logical flaws in using that data set to compare to online games. You know, ever. I just I just don't see it. What's the biggest piece of news to take out of this?
Well, I
Out of
believe that with his performance during this tournament, Pragnanda surpassed in the live ratings at least Anand, as Gukesh had previously, until he didn't. As
yeah.
you and many others might note, that Anand is not playing, therefore his rating remains stationary. So soon, Anand will surpass Prague
Oh
again.
yeah, like Anand's like a pull-up bar at this point. You know, he's just up, down. You know, players go above him, below him, above him, below him, and every time we get a new article. You know.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I have high hopes for Prague, though, and his sister. I do believe in him being the youngest of that group to a certain extent. Reza Firouzja is not necessarily pulling his weight as a hopeful should.
Yeah,
But
does
he's
seem a little
trying.
distracted with other ventures outside of chess, does he not?
I don't know if it's necessarily those or if it's the upcoming candidates tournament from April 2nd to April 20 something. I think it's April 24th. I believe that I'm going to be going to the candidates the last weekend in April. I'll be going perhaps on a Saturday or hopefully a Friday night. It depends on the school schedule for me. But I have a packed month. After I come back from Reykjavik in March, I have another event that I must travel to right after that one in Saratoga, New York, the New York State Championships. And then in April, 3 weekends away, I will be going to the U.S. High School Championships, the U.S. It might be the Middle School Championships. And then I'll be going to the Girls Nationals in Chicago, the Kasparov Girls Nationals in Chicago. And I only have one free weekend to not travel anywhere in the month of April, and I'll be going to Toronto.
I mean that's it sounds like you need a good accountant, sir. Just to be able to write that off your taxes.
Accountant.
Yeah. To write that off in your taxes, maybe.
The previous one was not necessarily taking care of those items as well as they should. I do get paid or reimbursed for the travel to the school events, so those don't really count. But events such as the Reykjavik tournament and the Toronto candidates tournament, the school will not be reimbursing me for it. Although I am trying to get, because I am taking I am going alongside. I'm not necessarily taking him because he's an older gentleman in the high school. Nico Chasen is going for his third Grandmaster norm from our school in Reykjavik. I noticed that he had signed up. So I may be able, if I do provide some coaching or if he's willing to accept some coaching in general, that I might be able to get reimbursed.
Well, I'll be fascinated to hear the result of that.
I'm very happy to say that we have two students now. Brewington Hardaway, I believe, earned his second GM norm from our school. So we have two high school students that are on the verge of becoming grandmasters.
Well, that's very good.
Following on Hans Niemann's footsteps, because Hans Niemann graduated our school 3 or 4 years ago. I'm trying to recall what year it was now.
Hopefully they use more honest tactics online. But yes.
Unfortunately, all of his great chess.com exploits took place before he got to our school when he was younger, under the age of 16, apparently.
Allegedly. Okay.
Allegedly.
Yeah, we'll protect his legal rights. Yes. So Vi can say what is this show? Do you think for the upcoming candidates tournament?
Well, I do believe in Alireza's chances to a certain extent in the round robin, unless he stays up all night playing Blitz with Danya or another of the commentators. He could be playing Bullet all night long right before he plays Nepo. I think that's on the schedule. When the morning or the night of his
Yeah,
game with Nepo, he's
yeah.
going to do a 12-hour Bullet session
He's
instead
got
of
to have
sleep.
a stupid decision penciled in. You got to have it on the schedule.
Yeah, exactly.
God forbid an unscheduled stupid decision. God, that would truly be a blow. Okay, so
I would definitely equate that stupid decision to the same one that Dubov and Nepo made when they horsed around at the board during a live event and on camera. That was the awkwardness because they basically had decided they were going to check out for a round and relax. And I believe Alireza was out of the running in the candidates tournament, and he gave up on the integrity of the candidates tournament previously by just checking out and playing Bullet and not caring when everyone else's chances depended on him beating Nepo to be able to make it a closer race. And because he didn't bother to show up to play Nepo the next day, because he chose to have fun and be a little bit irresponsible, everyone else had mentally somewhat checked out, not thinking that second place or first place was within reach. Obviously, first place wasn't within reach. And as it turned out, Ding Liren had the miracle comeback ahead of Nakamura because Nakamura could have been the challenger. And I would have to thank Alireza for Ding Liren becoming the world champion by playing an
I,
all-night Blitz session.
I'm not a man of hate, but seeing a curry fail is very fun for me. I mean,
I
truly.
wouldn't call that. I wouldn't call that a hate. I wouldn't use the H word for that.
Yeah, true,
That
true.
is one of those things where
Mild
the
enjoyment.
Germans have a word. The Germans have a word for it: taking delight in the failure of someone.
Yeah, I think over here we just call them, being a dick. But there we go. That's, hey, I'll take what I can get. So what's the next piece of chess news that we must go over, John?
I think aside from Prague taking over Anand, I think the most interesting tidbit would be that the Professional Chess League, has been canceled by chess.com for
Ah,
relative financial reasons. It just wasn't
hmm.
returning enough equity for the amount of staff that they had to provide, and it took a lot of their resources in order to put it out.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go straight to the article now. This is on chess.com. We'll put this one in the comments if anybody wants to look over it further. But this was from Danny Wrench. Dear chess community, today we made the difficult decision to discontinue the Pro Chess League. The league truly began in 2005 when Commissioner Greg Shahade launched the US Chess League, the first competitive online chess league with teams from chess clubs across the United States. The league offered exciting national competition and prizes and such things and playoffs. So and then we go into the next bit, where next paragraph. Chess.com's mission for all its events is to grow the game, serve the community. And then it goes on for a little bit like this. Since that time, chess.com has invested in many new events to support the goals above. Then they list some of these goals: the Women's Speed Chess Championships, the Junior Speed Chess Championships, and a bunch of other things like Arena King, stuff like that. And then they go on to say, as we've invested in these goals, we've also reflected honestly on the fact that the Pro Chess League has not garnered the viewership or the fandom that we expected or that we've seen for other events. I mean, that said, we believe all players competing on teams together are fans, which, okay. We're currently exploring many ideas from fantasy chess to band to blitz to tandem chess, hand and brain. So this, it's yeah, I'm glad they're bringing some more ideas into the fold. But I do have two thoughts on this. I don't think the Pro Chess League was a viable idea on its own from the start, just because it doesn't seem to be able to garner its own organic view. It doesn't seem to be able to garner its own. It just didn't seem like an event that was
With
quite
reviewers.
exciting enough. Yeah. It seemed like something was missing. I couldn't tell you what that thing was missing, but from the start it seemed a little bit lackluster, right? And my second thought
Yeah.
is my second thought is, I maybe Chess.com's expectations probably killed this. I mean, you can't have having high expectations is worse than having low expectations on some of these things. If you have expectations too high, you put too many resources in, and you make it, that it has to be amazing for it to succeed, then things are probably it has a better chance of failing. But John,
This was one of the
before the podcast, you had some good ideas on how we could possibly save this.
I do have my own ideas on the, as you actually mentioned it, you actually inspired the idea because you thought that there should be an organic viewer base for something along the lines of the Pro Chess League, and this would enable sponsorship. For example, the previous winners of the Pro Chess League, the St. Louis Archbishops, you can only imagine who might be sponsoring them. The Armenia Eagles, I believe, and the Russia Wizards, those speak for themselves. And the Gotham Knights finished ahead of the Shanghai Tigers. The Shanghai Tigers actually featured Ju Wenjun, and they were runners-up in the most recent one in 2023. It was pretty hard-fought Pro Chess League in a way. Shanghai?
Yeah, they got
Yes,
Shanghai.
they got
Sorry.
Shanghaied
Go ahead.
indeed.
That's my
But
little
they
pun
were
there.
playing from Shanghai.
Yeah.
The Canada Chess Bras, you'd never imagine who was on that team, finished
No.
second in 2020.
Unobvious.
But obviously they had a certain amount of global appeal, as many teams like the Norway Gnomes, and I believe that also featured Magnus Carlsen in the inaugural year in 2017. It basically took over from the U.S. Chess League, which was also run by Greg Shahade. Now, Greg Shahade had a great idea when he came to the Marshall Chess Club, when I was president of the Marshall Chess Club around the year 2000 to 2001. I believe I stopped being president of the Marshall Chess Club around 2002. May of 2002, but during my tenure, we had no events on Tuesday nights. In fact, Tuesday night was a night where nothing ever happened in the world of chess. We didn't even have an episode of the Perpetual Chess podcast coming out. But
Right.
Greg Shahade comes to me and he wants to host an event for Masters only, and that Masters would occupy, a good spectator event, and you could seek sponsorship and things like that. So only players 2,200 or higher, basically a titled Tuesday night Masters event every week at the Marshall Chess Club. And this ran from 2000 till I don't know when, if it's still running. And he also created the U.S. Chess League, which was run by the U.S. Chess Federation, but Chess.com hosted the event in 2013 and then began, I believe, in working in conjunction with Greg Shahade, forming the Pro Chess League, which became more global than the U.S. Chess League. And then, I would say, as you said, there should be an organic base for this. Why not have 4 or 6 members of each team participating in the title Tuesday? You can only watch one game at a time anyway. So the players wouldn't have to play each other. You could set it up. I'm positive that chess.com could set it up in such a way, even as you mentioned, they could do it on the back end if they had to. And the 6 players wouldn't have to play each other. It would be a relative team event with a lot of other players playing as wild cards, perhaps, or they could all join as their own local teams. These are titled players who would love to sponsor their own local clubs or their local affiliates, or perhaps even play for their country in the titled Chess League and the titled Tuesday, and then make it a global chess league within the titled Tuesday event. And that way, not only would you be rooting for an individual, but individuals would not drop out then. If somebody's having a bad tournament, a title player that you're interested in watching, like Jobava, will instantly go off and start playing or doing his own random thing and doing his karaoke and dance night on stream without the title Tuesday if he's doing poorly. But if he's playing for something like this, these players will stick around. So the top 4 scores, maybe even the top 6 scores, whatever you chose, depending on what the representation was like from various, And in many, if no one's ever signed up for a team event, basically when you enter the arena, it gives you a choice of teams that you are going to be forming or be a part of. And those teams could either claim you or not claim you, but then you won't be playing other players from that event. And of course, I think each club, team, or country could pre-claim by means of sponsorship any of these titled players as well for themselves.
But it does go to show, like, while the chess audience is big and while the chess audience is dedicated, they've got a lot. They're spoiled for choice. I mean, if programming is back to back, and then they don't have, and something's not exactly as riveting as it could be, or as dynamic as it could be, or multifaceted as it could be, then they're just not gonna go in. So like you might, yeah, I think this is the best way you could possibly save the Pro Chess League by having it as part of Title Two, or like title or any other big event, like just roll one quarter of the prizes over and put it in there, and maybe a little bit of the staff, and it'll be fine. I mean, I see that as a win, John. It's a very good
Well, I know
idea.
they did mention staffing for the Pro Chess League. I don't know that they were necessarily paying for arbiters at a physical location. I believe they were. So at the Marshall Chess Club, the players would actually play on chess.com from the Marshall Chess Club, and in New Jersey they had a central location for the New Jersey Knights, or I think the New Jersey Knights were actually from New York. And then you had the Queens team, which featured Grandmaster Strapunsky and Alex Lenderman. Might have been on the Gotham Knights or a Brooklyn team. I'm not entirely possible. He could have been on the Marshall team. But in general, this would be very easy for them to do, since they don't have to have a person on site for the title Tuesday. There is no need for any fair play checking, you know?
I mean, we've got
So,
Kramnik for that. Okay, I mean,
exactly.
yeah, we can't. We spoil it. We got a former world champion doing his own personal brand of vigilante justice. It's true. It's truly an amazing time we live in. But yeah, no, there clearly needs to be a change in some of these events. Like, there is no. It's obviously missing something. There's no reason why that should be unpopular or something else like that. They're missing an essential element that makes everything else on chess.com work. I mean,
Indeed. They have the Junior Speed Chess Championship. They have the Women's Speed Chess Championship, in
mm,
addition to the longest running Speed Chess Championship, which I think has been around since 2014 or 2017. I'm not sure. But
mm,
they've been running with 2016. The Speed Chess Championship was formed, and then they started adding other
yeah.
branches of it to accommodate the juniors and the women, which is very good overall, because we have plenty to watch, and there's plenty of prize money in those events. I guess the only reservation for those particular events is that you have to receive an invitation to a certain extent, such as for the I am not a GM
Yeah.
competition.
I mean, yes. I mean, they have. It's not. We are selling chess.com a little bit short. They have offered some alternatives in this, for these use of these resources and stuff like that. For instance, I mean, Banter Blitz and other stuff like that. I mean, I can't find the part of the article right away where they talk about exactly what opportunities will be opened up by this, but stuff like more Banter Blitz. I really enjoyed, like, back in the day. There used to be, I don't know what's called, Death Battle or something, where, like, for instance, the memorable one that I remember is GM Simon Williams versus Ben Feingold. Very interesting matchup. Very good. I mean, definitely there'll be
Very
time
funny
freed up for
guys.
stuff. Yeah, I know. Very, very good guys. There's a lot of people in the chess community that can do stuff like that. I mean, most definitely. I think more Banter Blitz, and I think more of one-on-one chess, where you can see both people's reaction on the board at the same time, where you compare both of them. That's the sort of stuff that I
Right.
think would be is perfect, right? It's people we know, and
The death
playing for these
the
prizes.
Yeah, the death matches were really great. They were 5 minute games, 3 minute games, and 1 minute games, all with a 1 second increment. And they had a nonstop 3 hour period. I think 1 minute. I don't know if it was 1 hour per period for each, or if it was 90 minutes of 5 minute, and 1 hour of 3 minute, and a half an hour of 1 minute. But there were 38 death matches total, apparently. And I know that the death matches met an untimely end at some point. But Hikaru Nakamura, Andrei MVL, Lequang Liam, Wesley So, Fabiano, even Judith Polgar participated in the ill-fated death matches.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. Like, I mean, other people have done this too, like to a reasonable effect. I mean, there's people on YouTube. I mean, or they used to trying to learn 1, 2, 3. I believe one of Ben Feingold's mods, String Dog, some another person who does that, is where they used to get two streamers who are facing each other and then sync up the camera with the board, and then you'd have that artificially later on. I mean, which was,
Right.
very,
And they were
very nice.
talking
I,
about
I
the
enjoyed watching that. You get to see the thought
and
process of two people independently,
talking about their
figure.
comments.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And and you get to kind of see how a master's mind works by that. You are both seeing the same things and they're like slightly different variations. So I thought that was very
Absolutely.
interesting. Something they should really bring back, and
The
especially
Banter
now when you've
Blitz.
yeah, especially now when they know Banter Blitz is so popular. And I don't even think you need a hell of a lot of like you don't need any staff to do that. So you could do it on a reasonably rapid fire basis.
Yeah, chessclub.com was actually doing Banter Blitz on its chessclub.com I'm sorry, chessclub.fm prior to the formation of chess.com. And I think the only one to do it prior to or during chess.com's reign was chess24. So I'm positive that they're going to be incorporating more Banter Blitz, and they're trying to incept many of the ideas from chess24 that they may have a little bit of a commitment to Magnus for, because they basically gave a certain amount of terms that they would keep some things going. Like they're using the chess24 channel.
Yeah.
And I was watching Tata Steel earlier in the day on the chess24 channel, featuring
Yes.
my favorite commentator and good friend David Howell. He's a nice enough guy, and the usual assortment of streamers. So at least the chess24 commentators like Jan Gustafsson are
Yeah.
still alive and well under
No.
the chess.com.
I'm not saying that chess.com's commentary team is bad. They're not. They're good. But like Chess24's commentary teams were all extremely elite. They were very good. The qualities were extremely high. It was a very, very good production. Like there is, it's like
Yes.
for Chess.com to say no, like they should have canned their own team in favor of Chess24. I mean, it's something, if you're going to acquire something of
Well,
that quality, just, like
there's no
get rid of
substitute for Grandmaster Canty. Are you saying Grandmaster Canty and
yeah,
part-time
yeah.
Grandmaster, my
Yeah,
friend
yeah,
Robert
yeah.
S.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
I
others?
mean, yeah, FIDE Master Canty is I
No,
think
it's
replaceable.
Grandmaster Canty, GM Canty.
Oh,
I'm not talking about
GM.
FIDE
Oh,
Master Canty,
all right.
GM
Okay.
Canty.
Oh,
That's his Twitch handle. I'm giving him a free plug.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, all right. Yeah, the requirements changed. Obviously, I see. It's
Speaking of the requirements changing, I think we were actually discussing the most recent interview that was propagated through Patrick Wolf. I actually did want to bring that one up because I thought that his suggestion of chess.com becoming a worldwide monopoly taking over FIDE would be an excellent idea. Whereas I think you might have almost lost some sleep on it.
well, okay. Here's the story. I mean, as I was going to sleep after, as I do every night, like most people, very relatable. I know. I put on my podcast. Ben Johnson's tones, were putting me to sleep. Fun fact: I actually also crashed a car while listening to Ben Johnson, but that's
You
completely
too.
yeah.
I also did that as well. I also did that. I wonder if anyone else out there has crashed a car or nearly crashed a car while listening to
Entitled to
Ben Johnson.
compensation.
We might be able to form a class action suit.
Yeah, I know, right? So Ben Johnson, incredibly dangerous for drivers. You heard it here first.
Do
No,
not
but
listen to while operating moving vehicles.
yeah, I was
I
listening to
love you,
Ben Johnson
Ben.
as I went
I'm
to
just
sleep.
joking, Ben. You know we're just joking. We're giving
Yeah,
you free plugs, buddy.
you'll hear from my
Meanwhile, back
lawyers
to
soon,
Rogan's
Ben.
bedtime story.
We're coming for you. Now, yeah. So as I was going to bed, like I said, very relatable. The Ben Johnson was talking, and I was relaxing all nicely, and then Patrick Wolf was talking about all the failures of FIDE, and I was like, oh. He agrees with me. I'm amazing. And so as I was going to sleep confident that I was the rightest man in the world. He started saying stuff like FIDE doesn't even need to be replaced. And I was like, hold up. Some of my muscles started tensing there. I was like, I need to get some or something. This is going downhill fast. And then he started saying something like, well, chess.com's the only alternative around. And I was like, and that's when I went on full on, every
Oh,
muscle
yeah.
was tense. And I was like, where's that phone? I'm going to stop this stuff. And as I listened on, he kept he kept saying stuff like, stuff like this. And while I agree with Mr. Wolf on the fact that FIDE corrupt, ineffective, turns off big name sponsors, well, he did have some points. FIDE has legitimacy through its titles, its rating systems, and its rules. Now, I have to say, its rules aren't always good. In fact, they're most often bad. But there is no other big organization that can do what FIDE does. Chess.com is in no way capable of running anything outside of a money making operation, right? And FIDE
Right.
tournaments are not money making operations.
They're not supposed to be.
Or they're not supposed to be, and when they are, they're very bad at it. So I mean, that's like it's a very silly proposition to say that an organization with massive flaws, it's much easier to find something that doesn't exist to replace it than it is to just overhaul the one you've got. I mean, you know,
Exactly.
in my mind, it would be so easy to overhaul half the regulations that FIDE has. Anything about shoes and a non like televised setting is just stupid. Like I want to wear my shoes, and I may only have one pair. Allegedly, I only have one pair of
Traveling with
shoes.
one pair of shoes, who would have thought?
I know, right? I mean, goodness me. So it's stuff like that that can just be easily overhauled by FIDE. Like, and the rest you just need to get rid of. You need to put back in term limits so Dvorkovich is not like dictator for life. And you need to get rid of these voting bill. You got to overhaul the voting system completely so that like Jersey or some shit or some island in the middle of the goddamn
That's
Pacific
right.
doesn't have the same voting power as Canada or or Russia or the
Or the United
Netherlands.
States, etc.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we don't want Trinidad and Tobago to cancel out like the valid concerns of like I don't know 20, 30,000 Americans.
That is the problem with one person, one vote operations, or one country, one vote operations. When you have 100 and I'm trying to think if it's 132 countries in FIDE, or if they're up to further up. I think that there's greater than that. But in general, I mean, there's no fair way to actually work out the voting so easily because someone will always be unhappy
Yeah,
with it, as the
right.
Electoral College in the United States is often faulted for that as well. Nobody wants New York to decide the election because we have more people in our state than any other state. So therefore, yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly that the voting, being able to buy a vote from a third world country or be able to buy all of the votes from the
It's insane. Like
exactly.
these people don't even have chess organizations, and they're trying to have an equal say in an actual chess organization, and it just leads to the most nefarious person using the most nefarious tactics to
Mhm.
to get the people with absolutely zero skin in the game to make decisions for FIDE.
Nigel Short traveled to a lot of the smaller countries to garner those votes for he and Dvorkovich, and he promised them special treatment because obviously they can't give the special treatment to organizations such as the United States or the UK, which are already well established and don't need such help from FIDE. But at the same time, did they really provide help to those organizations, or did they just jerry rig the thing to have the vote?
Yeah, and
I agree with
it's
you.
like I mean okay. Here's the only way you could ever stop that because you're going to have to vote on the thing to get rid of the voting. I mean, yeah, so you're going to have to. Yeah.
And that's not going
So
to work either.
what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to threaten the world's biggest chess schism, like in the history of in the You're going to have to say, well, we've got Magnus Carlsen over here, 25 other top 100 players. Guess what? If they don't turn up, you're fucked. So let's start talking here. Either Magnus Carlsen or some other really big name, or maybe like some funny fellow like Elon will decide to put $1 billion into. I don't know. Who cares? But there's got to be there's somebody out there who's got the face name and eventually will have the reason to do this. I mean, so you're gonna have. So the only way I see it to get FIDE to do this is to strong arm them so much with a big chess schism that they just go, fuck it, we're not listening to the little nations anyway. We're gonna overhaul the goddamn thing. I mean, yeah,
That is but the other issue is that they have such a monopoly on world chess that there's not a second organization out there. So if you do consider the only other online option being chess.com, obviously
yeah,
they have the
but they're
global
different,
monopoly
aren't
on
they?
online chess. They have the monopoly on online chess, but at the same time, if you were to harness the power of a credible entity such as Magnus Carlsen,
Mm,
because in theory, right now, chess.com does have Magnus Carlsen, as Patrick Wolf pointed out in that interview. But I mean, I'm a member of Offerspiel, as I offer promote Magnus Carlsen's chess club in Norway. And when he was about to secede from the Norwegian Chess Federation Union, he was going to form his own chess federation within Norway. He could easily turn, if he so cared, but
mm,
he's too easygoing and relaxed a guy to take on the administrative responsibilities of trying to organize such a thing. I
mm.
would say that the leading chess organizer within the chess.com realm, Greg Shahade, should go about seeing the coup of FIDE by creating a second entity of world chess. And
Greg, really?
credibility of having Magnus Carlsen on board
I
with a
mean, yeah,
format. This is their chance, by the way, because
yeah.
Magnus Carlsen has complained about the World Chess Championship format. If the World Chess Championship format of another organization could accommodate Magnus Carlsen, I believe there could be a second world entity, not unlike the ones that Gary
Mm,
Kasparov created in the past. He created the Professional Chess Players Association, the PCA, which ran the
yeah,
1995 World Championship, and he created the Grand Masters Association, which was the organization prior to that that ran the World Cups in the late 1980s and early 1990s.
yeah. But you
It
need
would be
staying
nice.
power there too. So, I mean, it's this big thing. You need, I think, in order to pull a coup, you need to really have at least 50% of like normal players. Like normal players don't
Fine.
care. You need the dedicate. You need like 50% of the dedicated people. You need the top echelon, the top 10% of people who spend the money, and
Right.
then you need the passive support of the rest of the population, and then you need the money attractions. You need the respect of the top like 100, and then you need enough money to make sure that FIDE can't just buy their way out of this with putting on the best tournaments ever and exclusively, making exclusive contracts or some crap. Like you can't go
Exactly.
here. Like I mean, it needs money. It needs to happen fast, and it needs to have staying power. I don't think Gary's had staying power. As Russian as
Yeah,
he is, that's his problem.
no, he did
Yeah,
have the support of the top 100 or so when he formed the Professional Chess Players Association, the PCA,
yeah,
and he did have some good people behind it. But when you have one organization footing the bill, and they did have Intel as a sponsor for a short period of time, especially in
mm,
1995, I worked with the Intel people during that World
yeah,
Championship. They were really great, and it was a wonderful thing. And IBM came in for a short period of time to invest some money in chess to develop their Deep Blue. Toward the late 1990s, Intel sponsorship yielded sponsorship into forms of chess with the matches versus Kasparov later. But you're right. The average player looking toward another organization
you
doesn't
know,
seem feasible.
yeah. You need them to stop saying what's your FIDE rating. Essentially, you need them to stop caring. You need to either transfer like everyone who's got a FIDE thing now is automatically a master over here. We've got similar requirements. It's not a revolution; it's a schism, and we're going to change these 26 things. And we're gonna do it now. We're not waiting on Tobago, Trinidad, and Tonga to fucking to devote America, Canada, and Russia and China. I mean, all the big countries out. I mean,
Indeed.
it's
Although my
you
wife is from Trinidad and I know
yeah, I
exactly
know.
what you're talking about. We were talking about how these countries barely form a presence at the Olympiad as well. It's unfortunate that they just don't have the support nor the depth of the greater chess countries that are out there to unfortunately hold the same voting power.
Yeah,
Support
it's.
FIDE. You need those guys to rebel.
I mean, yeah, no,
In any event,
I mean, you could make some super delegate system or something where where these 10 countries vote and their own little thingamajig, and then the thing that comes, and then the majority vote for those small countries goes to something. So it's like, so it's a little more complex or something. I don't know, gerrymandering essentially, but it's. But there's ways of giving small countries representation without them having the exact same vote as say India or something. Like it'd be very silly to say New Zealand has the same skin in the game. I mean, it's an awful way to run a chess organization. I mean,
it's unfortunate but true.
Yeah.
On the lighter note, if you can consider it lighter note, in order to wrap up today's stories, I overlooked Divya Deshmukh defeating her second very strong GM in the challengers as well, in Tata Steel. She beat an almost 2,600 rated player, and I'm very proud of her. She's holding up the women's end of those events. We also had a very odd story of an ex-British chess prodigy.
Oh, it was very, very fun story. I mean, okay, a British ex chess prodigy, goodness, was arrested and fined after he sent "I am a Taliban" text on an EasyJet flight, and he faces 6-figure fines. But he's going to court, so he's facing £95,000, which is a compensation bill if convicted. I mean,
in addition to another fine of another 20,000 due to some other charges based on terrorism threats and things like that, just bringing alternate alarm. Basically, he sparked fighter jets to accompany his passenger plane from Spain at whatever moment, and it was unfortunate that there are some words that you just don't say on airplanes or while you're in the line for security, and that is definitely one of them.
I mean, nowadays they use fighter jets much more because the game's changed. The thought used to be with hijackings that you could negotiate with them because they're after money, but nowadays it's shoot the damn thing down before they put it into something.
Indeed, I think Apple Plus has the series Hijack featuring Idris Elba. It's a 24 like Jack Bauer like thing, but featuring Idris Elba instead. I think throughout the duration of the series, it accompanies the 6-hour flight from Dubai toward London. And I believe the plan for that hijacked plane, spoiler alert, is to put it into one of the buildings in London. And Idris Elba is on board that flight and trying to disable it. I've got a trial subscription to Apple Plus. I'm not an Apple person by any means, but I have to commend their programming. Free stuff is free stuff. And they have some amazing programs such as Ted Lasso. And I just watched earlier today the documentary on Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
J. Fox. The Michael J. Fox earned 4 Emmys, and it definitely had me very emotional toward the end of it, because for many of us of a certain age, not even that, but many of us grew up with him. And he's actually, as they mentioned, he's inspired many people in many different ways through his films and whatnot. He inspired me to move to New York. And my first student, as I told him, I saw the secret of my success, and I'm going to move to New York, and I'm going to become a chess professional, and I'm going to do what I want to do for a living because of the secret of success. So when I watched that film, my student said, "Oh, John, you're not really going to do that. I don't believe you." And by the end of the year, I was on my way to the East Coast.
I mean,
in 1987.
Alicia Keys had not come along yet with the New York. I mean, so
no, not at all.
It had to be him. It had to be Mr. Fox. I mean,
I actually expected New York to be too expensive for me. I was aiming at a slightly more amenable city like Philadelphia, which is also quite a lovely place as well. And they always hold the World Open and many other Continental Chess Association events here in the United States with guaranteed prize money. And getting back to the FIDE thing, or to bridge the gap with that conversation in FIDE, most of the tournaments that are organized in the United States hold the secondary and third, perhaps as many as 4 or 5 booster sections. All the money that's poured into the lower sections is in there to support the prize money for the grandmasters in the top section. They do this in Paris and in many other places, basically. You're not expecting to make money on a tournament, but you do charge entry fees accordingly to be able to subsidize those grandmasters in the elite events. Doesn't do that. They hold an elite event without any booster sections, and that's it. Tata Steel has secondary and tertiary events that are helping to fund the elite event, which works out really well. So you can have a complete chess festival.
That is something different. That is something different. So, John, what is there? What's any last words of wisdom or advice or general musings that you have to share with us for this wonderful end of this podcast?
Well, I believe in the last podcast I mentioned the fact that you have to outwork everyone every single day. You have to have the attitude of putting the effort in to outwork everyone every single day in order to achieve your goals or dreams in whatever field you're into, whether it's chess or not. And that means setting aside the time, using your productivity app to make sure that you get on for 20 minutes on Chessable and accomplish your goals, or get on and play your 3 to 6 rated games each day. And you have to schedule that time for yourself and be responsible to yourself for meeting that schedule of a chess improvement. And ideally, review your games with a trainer or a friend or someone competent who can have an objective second pair of eyes on your game and say, dude, you're messing up these rook and pawn endings.
Yeah.
As I once said to a young Mark Arnold before he became grandmaster.
And now he's saying that to you.
No. And that, well, no, he would say, dude, you're messing up your whole game. No. But yeah, you need a second pair of eyes on your game many times in order to help you improve. So don't be afraid to seek help and or ask for a second opinion.
Oh yes, of course. There's no shortage of people in the chess community that are willing to help you for nothing. Like it is the chess community is very, very beautiful like that. It's a poor man's sport for a reason. So, thank you all for being here today. It is a pleasure. It is a pleasure to have talked. We're thinking about doing wonderful stuff like interviews of, we're trying to take over Ben Johnson's spot. Bring it now, but yeah. I mean, I need to pay back my car. I mean,
even though we remain or hope to remain a weekly chess news podcast, we hope to add some extra episodes indeed.
Oh, yes, amazingly so. So, Master Chess Dojo streams on Twitch and on YouTube at Master Chess Dojo, capital F. It's all one word, but capitals added on each one of those little sub words. That didn't make sense, but I stream on everywhere. King/Sloan. Also, follow me on Twitter for nothing because I don't do anything there, but that's okay. Just follow me there anyway. Gives my ego a boost. So thank you all for being here. God bless and have an amazing chess day.